Hey, what's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my New Jersey Devils franchise mode series right here on NHL 19. And today we begin a new season after one hell of an off season of change. This team has changed quite a bit since the end of last season, since the deadline of last season. Now, out of last episode, there were a couple of talking points that I wanted to bring up. And first and foremost, when it comes to Jack Hughes and why he was a UFA, unfortunately, the game is a little bit broken, and that created players don't end up being RFAs. So that is why he was available for whatever reason. Buffalo did not end up signing him. I don't know why, but hey, I would gladly take advantage of it for the sake of this series. We changed up the lines a little bit as well. Nico Hischier will be on the top line next to Hughes and Hall. So, of course, Bratt, McLeod, and Gusev will be the second line. Excited to see what this team can do, especially, too, this will be the power play unit that we have this year. Although, actually, I think I'm going to swap Hall and Hischier. Yeah, we should have the best power play in the league. We're running one defenseman, that being Justin Schultz. I am excited to see what 39-year-old Kovalchuk can do on that unit. Although, one other thing I wanted to change is if we ever run into the game now, in a real-life setting, it is kind of better to have lefties on the left for how they can interact with the boards much easier. But for this game, obviously one-timers are key for defensemen, and we are going to run it like this. Because if I ever jump into the sim, you've seen how bad the AI are. They just don't shoot. Not that they take one-timers either, but still, we're going to change it up. We'll see how it works. In a worst-case scenario, I'll flip people back around. Another one of the main talking points would have been Mackenzie Blackwood and that contract situation where he was looking for over $5 million. I let him go to free agency. He got 6.1, and I matched the deal. Now, obviously, we could have gotten him for a lot cheaper of a deal, and I still have my doubts over him. But my thought process at the time, you'll notice he got 6.1, right? And the compensation would have been a first and a third. He was very close to getting the 6.2 or so. It's 6.253. Actually 6.254 for it to go up, and it would have been a first, second, and a third. And I would have felt a little bit better about that. I'm not saying a second-round pick was make or break for that situation. And while we do have a goalie prospect that we could have used, to go out and make a deal, there's still no guarantees it would have worked. The only team that really makes sense, of course, right now would be Buffalo. And odds are we would have ended up with Luukkonen or Robin Lehner. But when it comes to any goalies of this higher value, if a team doesn't want to make a move, I mean, yeah, it would have probably I don't know, bottom line, I don't know if Blackwood, Mestra would have been enough. It would have been Blackwood, Mestra, and picks to go out and get either Luukkonen or Lehner, more than likely. I mean, if we look at who everybody has right now, or not, okay, hey, there's a Joe NHL. Cool. But if we look at who Washington has right now, I mean, Holtby or Samsonov wouldn't have helped. Winnipeg, I mean, Hellebuck, we've been hit or miss with Hellebuck in past series, so I'm not entirely sure there. Other high-value options who might be significantly better. Freddie Anderson's 32. Maybe Vasi from Tampa. Maybe. But that's an expensive-ass deal. Granted, I'd rather just pay an extra $3 million. That would have worked, I'm sure. But then again, if they don't want to trade him, that's a very, very tough contract to get. Pittsburgh, Matt Murray, is kind of my response. Carter Hart in Philadelphia. And then you get into the arguments of, would a team actually move this player? And, okay, is it fun to, take a goalie away from a team where they probably wouldn't get rid of him? There's a lot of different ways you could have looked at it. I'm not going to say I'm overly happy with it. The one situation with this team, despite how good we look right now in comparison to how we looked just a season ago, the one negative, I would say, is the goaltending situation. And last year, of course, we had that debate. Was it the goaltending as to why the plus-minuses on the team was awful? Or was it defense? Was it just the team in general? It's going to be a big moment for Mackenzie Blackwood here. And obviously, it's a huge risk. A first and a third-round pick, not bad, especially now because Blackwood will be a UFA at the end of the deal. We'll see. We'll see if how we handled that ends up working out well. I'm not entirely sure if it will. I got to be honest. But at the end of the day, we had a really strong episode. I don't really think that can be contested, all things considered. I mean, some people might say, well, you should have also gotten like a Hampus Lindholm as well, but I'd argue, I want Ty Smith in the top 4. I'm very happy with how this team has come together. We'll see what Mackenzie Blackwood can do. I mean, it's a big time for him right now, a huge moment. And, within these upcoming, I guess you can't define 2 seasons as a moment, but there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders to deliver. I mean, like I said, could have gone 2 years, about $5 million. We're paying him 1.1 extra. I don't know. I don't know, because I can't say how I would have reacted had it been a first, second, and a third. I think that would have been a little bit too much to give up. What I was really banking on was him accepting the qualifying offer. I honestly didn't think another team was going to go in for him. Kind of sucks that they did. Now, one thing I want to take a look at here is when it comes to the leadership on this team. Damon Severson has an A, which, you know what, I think I'm good with. I just don't know if I want Hall or Heischer with the letter or not. Palmieri and Kovalchuk are kind of, you know what? Kovalchuk's getting the C back. I don't care. Kovalchuk is getting the C back. As happy as I am that we ended up with Jack Hughes, and now the thumbnail's fitting, getting Kovalchuk back on this team and hopefully finding success with him, that would just be tremendous. Which means the opening month of the season is going to be a disaster for us. That's exactly what that means. The good thing is, by the way, too, as far as scouting, I remembered to change everything at the end of the last episode. So that's good. We are free and clear to start simming, hopefully start winning. Tyler Cutler, our big addition in the Subban trade, goes down to injury. He's going to miss the majority of this opening month. Hopefully, of course, as well that AHL team can have a good run this year. That team is pretty damn well stacked from what you guys have seen. The defense, we'll see. The goaltending, I mean, we have 3 goaltenders down in the AHL who could all be pretty damn good in due time. And that is, again, one of the situations right now is when it comes to goaltending, we are dealing from a position of strength. We have, even the fringe guy, Heatley, that we picked up in the last episode, but we have a medium franchise goalie in the pipeline and 2 decent goaltenders with Bednar and Jones already in the minors. Maybe that would have been the right time to take a risk and move players to go out and get a better goaltender than Blackwood on paper, but that is not the move that we elected to make, and thus we will deal with it. And hell, that move could still be made in due time. If you think about it, money-wise and value-wise, value-wise, it's tough to say that Blackwood's going to be worth a first and a third if we were to try and trade him outright for a first and a third, but he would still be relatively close. If he's not getting it done, we do still have the option to try and move him to a different team, and we could still include that goaltender, so I'm not too worried. Speaking of not too worried, 8-1-0 through the opening month of the season. Nico Hischier, 16 points in 9 games. 5 goals, 11 assists. We are on top of the Metro Division. Very early on, but yeah, 16 points there. You have the 13 points for Jack Hughes, 8 goals, and Taylor Hall, 14 points. That top line doing quite well thus far. Second line, Jesper Bratt, again, 8 points, but a -3. 7 points and a -4 for McLeod, 8 points and a -5 for Gusev. So again, I don't get it. The other lines are performing, but they just defensively, it's rough. Now, Kovalchuk, 7 assists in 9 games. Not too bad. 8 points for Boqvist and 10 for Palmieri, so that third line's doing quite well. I guess some line has to be scored against. I guess I'd rather have it be that line. 2 points for Coleman, 10 penalty minutes, 3 points and a +3 for Gates. And not much yet from the rookie Person, who again could be sent down if he struggles a little bit, or if there's someone in the AHL just tearing it up. Severson, not much of a point getter. Without power play time, I guess it's not that surprising. We're going to care more about the plus-minus for a lot of these guys. Right now it's the third pairing that's a little bit behind. Obviously, it's nothing noticeable. Maybe Mackenzie Blackwood is worth $6.1 million. Maybe he is. If he plays like that, we're winning the Stanley Cup this year. I'm calling my shot right now. It's 9 games, right? But if he can sustain that level of play for this season, it's going to be a very special season here in New Jersey. So, very exciting start through the first 10 games as we handle Washington in back-to-back efforts. Very intrigued as well to see Binghamton, how they do. Of course, 7-2 thus far on the season, despite having some injury concerns. It'll be Colton White who is taken out of this lineup for Drew Hellison, who again did surprisingly well in the AHL last year for someone of his overall. And the goaltending down the AHL has been pretty good. I mean, Bednar's a 77 at 20 years old, so it's a little bit further ahead than Hunter Jones is, which is pretty nice. And Struble back to 100%. He never missed time due to injury, though. We beat Pittsburgh as well. Can we beat the Islanders? Good God. Good God. No, I wish I had something to rant and ramble about to pass the time here, because anytime I focus on, hey, are we winning or losing, we always seem to lose. Case in point, we've lost back-to-back ever since I even slightly started to point out what the win-loss record happened to be, as we have lost 3 straight. Crashing back down to reality here. Drew Doughty, eh? Doughty, Walker in a second for Cutler, Wong, and Barnett. I'm good, thanks, but that shows you the value of Cutler, that we could get Drew Doughty plus, obviously with Doughty making as much as he's making, no thank you, even though we can afford that, and obviously with Cutler as well, just no thank you. But hey, interesting that we have options. Again, I don't really want to say, yeah, I'm going to give up Cutler. But if we keep losing games here, maybe we will go out and get help. We lost 6 straight games in the middle of November after one hell of a start. And Hunter Jones is going to miss about a month here with a fractured collarbone. Apparently it's not that bad of a fractured collarbone because it's less than a month. Could have been worse, I do suppose. And I guess that's the best way to sum up our record through November. Could have been worse. Still wasn't bad. Wasn't great either for the standard that we set. We are just 2 points ahead of the Rangers. Hischier still leading the way, 33 points in 24 games. And we'll take another quick look at the team here just to make sure that there isn't anything that we can change up, of course. So Hughes doing well, 31 points. Taylor Hall doing well, 12 goals, 19 assists. Pratt's only a -4. McLeod, I mean, the top 6 is scoring like you'd expect. Kovalchuk, 18 points this year. I mean, everybody's scoring at a really good pace. The fourth line's a little bit behind, but they're all on pretty good pace. They're all on a pretty good pace, just in general. But Ludwig, I don't know if he's ready. I mean, Brent Gates is on pace for 20 points. Blake Coleman's on pace for 20 points. Ludwig not so much, and he's a minus player. He's only getting 9 minutes a night here. I think he's going to benefit just a little bit more from playing full-time in the AHL this year and getting that prime-time ice time down there. So that'll do it for him this season. The question is, out of this amazing group of talent, who wants that call-up? Who wants that call-up? So Zetterlund. Bit too worried about the defense there, buddy. I'm sorry. Joey Anderson, 13 points, a -3. You have Evan Barrett still doing pretty damn well. Tyler Cutler, not bad. I mean, 7 points in 12 games. Nathan Bastian looking okay. Jack Bedini has been great. 89 offensive awareness, playing 16 minutes a night. I guess that is the question, too, over who do we think will fare better, despite playing a little bit less. And Marshall Greer had 4 points in 5 games. He hasn't been in full time. I'm almost tempted to go with Marshall Greer. I mean, Barrett, Bedini have been doing well. Anderson, I'm tempted to call up just because he's getting up there, man. He's 24 at this point. And I think he might benefit a little bit better. We're going to call up Joey Anderson. This will be his chance here. I mean, kind of like we had with Pavel Zacha last year, which you could argue if we had Zacha or John Hayden, if they were still doing well on that fourth line, how good would they look? Although they likely wouldn't be around. Then again, if we had Zacha, we probably wouldn't have signed Kovalchuk, and I'm glad we did. So we're going to send Person down, and pretty much it's a one-for-one swap. Joey Anderson's going to replace him on the fourth line, and is, the AHL replacement will be right there too. Pretty straightforward. So down in the AHL, I believe he can play center. It's not really a big deal if he can't. Let's get Person in there. It's that top unit that's doing pretty damn well thus far. So let's get Person in there, and we'll see what he can do. Is that going to be the shootout lineup? 3-on-3. I'm surprised it's not the shootout lineup. Normally it is. Let's take a look at centers. Not centers, right wings, Person. There we go. So hopefully Ludwig improves a little bit more with that extra time. And we'll see how Anderson does in the fourth line. Defensively, mainly looking at the plus-minus here. That's what I was afraid of. Putting the two kind of more defensive defensemen on the same pairing is rough. And especially too, Patrick Spurgeon can't skate. That's his big issue. He is physical. He is a shutdown defenseman. He can pass the puck. He just can't skate. It's a little bit worrying. But we're going to leave it as is. I mean, you could argue that top pairing isn't exactly killing it together, but they're not exactly awful. I'm gonna leave it for now, but I do like the way Schultz and Smith are playing, and Blackwood's save percentage, and the save percentage in general for our goaltenders really dropped off over that last month. We still have a 16-5-3 record. I'm not complaining too much, but it is a bit tragic. We've seen the best of Mackenzie Blackwood and the worst. My God, they really want Cutler, which tells me everything I need to know. We're not trading him. Here, we'd like to drop an aging Drew Doughty with a lot of term left for a top prospect. I'm good, man. That's why I got rid of PK. I would much rather have the young potential superstar of an offensive option rather than Drew Doughty, even though, of course, the defense could be a little bit better on paper, but we are still trying to prioritize the development of Moritz Seider and one Ty Smith. So let's move on here. We'll see if the change to the fourth line ends up being a positive overall. And we do start things off with a 7-2 win over the Blues, a 1-0 win over the Washington Capitals. Speaking of the Buffalo Sabres, I believe PK re-signed there. Hunter Jones is actually back from injury. Let's get him back in the lineup. 3 points in 4 games for Person. Not a bad start. And goalie-wise, Heatley never got to play. I feel bad because he could be decent, but again, just the guys in front of him are a bit too good. And Jan Bednar has been pretty solid thus far by AHL standards. So we end up losing to the Sabres. We beat the Capitals again. Poor Washington. They are dreading seeing us come up on the schedule. A loss to Nashville. Can we beat Montreal here? Yes, we can, but then we lose to Arizona. You notice our losses, though. 4 goals, 6 goals, 5 goals, 4 goals back against Columbus. 6 goals allowed against Minnesota. It's pretty rough. And Nikita Gusev is going to be out for the rest of the month. We're just going to have, it's really a week. We're going to have Blake Spears outright replace him as we continue to lose games back-to-back. We've lost 3 out of our last 4, make that 4 out of our last 5. So we are starting to prove ourselves to be a little bit of a streaky team, and not in a good way. Blake Spears, not the most impressive effort there, buddy. How's Anderson done? He's been inoffensive, but from an offense, well, literally inoffensive, as in he's not bad, but boy, there's been no offense there. That's rough. That's rough. We'll give him a little bit more time. I'd like to see him do a little bit more in terms of putting up points. My God, we've lost 4 games in a row again. Will Dallas make it 5 as we head into the new year? Zetterlund suffers an injury down in the AHL. It was a win. So 22-12-4 as of January 1st. Not exactly as crazy of a start as it was looking like. We are still in first place in the division, but there was at one point through that opening month where it's like, okay, this could be record-setting. Not quite. Not quite. Hischier, 19 goals, 32 assists. He's almost an assist a game, which is crazy. Jack Hughes, 45 points at this stage, and 52 points for Taylor Hall. Bratt, 27 points in 38 games, pretty damn good. But again, the plus-minus, man. He's the common denominator. Everybody he's played with, for some reason, ends up with a horrible plus-minus. McLeod, 33 points, and Nikita Gusev still doing pretty damn well. I just, like, is it worth putting up with? Like, I almost wonder if we scratch him, and I might do this, but if we were to scratch him, how would we do? You know? Anderson not doing much with his whole 8 minutes per game option. Cutler, all right. Evan Barrett, 26 points. Barrett and Badini still doing quite well down in the AHL. 13 goals for Afanasayev. If we were to run... Who do we want to go with here? We know Evan Barrett can perform. I want to test something here. Because we could have a decent little negotiating piece if this works out the way I think it might. We are going to have Evan Barrett pretty much outright replace Jesper Bratt. And we're going to see how he does and whether or not the plus-minus of that team improves. If it does, well, then we have an interesting little debate on our hands here. So I want to see if that second line improves. I think Evan Barrett's good enough to just immediately fill in. The third line's done quite well, not amazingly. But we're going to see what Evan Barrett can do, playing next to Michael McLeod and Nikita Gusev. And we're going to see if Jesper Bratt is the problem. Defensively, you know what, we'll take a look at that too. I wasn't going to at first. But we're going to give Evan Barrett a good chance here to try and prove something. And, okay, yeah, the Spurgeon-Sider pairing needs to end. For sure. So, in terms of left-handed defensemen, Butcher's been a little bit better, and Schultz has been better than Severson. So, then in between these two, let's say we run... I don't really want to run Smith and Sider, though, but you know what? Let's go Sider, Butcher, Schultz, Smith as the top pairing, and then Severson with Spurgeon. And we'll see how that works. And then goaltending-wise... Boy, that 9-game run is going to haunt me, isn't it? Here's the thing. If we have Blackwood to use, if we have Jesper Bratt to use, and then draft picks, and we look to go out and make a change and try to get a goaltender to help lead this team, maybe a defenseman, we'll at least have some good negotiating pieces. We do snap that streak, of course, in the last game of the month. We won our second game in a row by beating Chicago before losing to the Hurricanes, and a win against the Wild as well. We're going to see if the goaltending can step up. We're going to see if Jesper Bratt is somewhat of a negative, despite being a point producer. I mean, again, some line, with the way the sim works, as Damon Severson goes down to injury, with the way the sim works, you know, someone is going to get handed the minuses on the team. But it's still not who I'd prefer to see it happen to. We need to split up some of these options here. I want Smith, Schultz, and Butcher, each on their own line. So we're going to go with that type of setup right there. And it will be... That works. That works, I think. We'll go Spurgeon with Schultz, Sider with Butcher, and Holtz with Smith. Let's run with that. In the meantime, Zetterlund back from injury down in the AHL. That is going to be Greer, who ends up taking a seat as a result. Although at some point I'm going to have to go best lines again. So let's just have it be Robertson. I don't know if Zetterlund can play center. He's going to, though. Screw it. Congratulations, Zetterlund. You're now our third-line center. Technically a demotion, but you don't have to feel bad about it if you don't want to. We have lost 3 straight games again. Man. I just don't understand how this team's operating. It's just so streaky where we go on the 3 to 4 game losing streaks. And there's another one. Is it going to sim that game against LA is my question. Severson's back from injury. How's Barrett doing? See, Evan Barrett's doing well. He's a point a game and a +3. I don't know what to make of this team. I really don't. There are certain aspects that perhaps I'm overthinking it, but I mean, I can't be overthinking a -15 and a -11 though. Can't be overthinking that. Like that's, that's not exactly like, oh yeah, you're just overanalyzing. Like, no, they're not good. So we want Spurgeon down. Seider is going to have to play the second pairing. And then Schultz. So yeah, I think Schultz and Smith, Seider, Butcher, Severson, Spurgeon. It's pretty much the best we can afford to do. Blackwood's back up to a 908. Kokechkov is continuing to be an unreliable backup goaltender. Joey Anderson, that experiment's over. That experiment's over for Joey Anderson. It's just crazy to me that Barrett's doing as well as he was. We're going to continue to give him a little bit of time. But down in the AHL, Cutler doing well but not killing it. Person's doing very well. I think maybe Jack Bedini. Especially too because he's well-rounded defensively. He's not very physical. But I wonder how Bedini does. Either that, or finally give Nathan Bastian his opportunity. You know what? Let's give Nathan Bastian a chance. Someone who might make the Devils this year, actually. But let's do this. So Anderson and Spears, I'm just going to send the two of them down for now. If they get claimed, so be it. I'm not too worried about missing out on value. As I've already established, I'm cool with it. Anderson gets claimed by Colorado. Fine by me. Oh, you could have gotten a third. I don't care. Just flat out, I don't care. I don't. Who cares? But we will give Nathan Bastian his opportunity. And down in the AHL, I mean, Anderson and Spears. I mean, obviously, well, Anderson's gone. Spears, I'm not too worried about getting back into this lineup. I mean, granted, he didn't get that much playing time, but he's going to be a depth option regardless. So we'll see how Nathan Bastian can do. There's a good chance that Bratt makes his way back into the lineup at some point. We're going to see how the next 2 games here happen to go down for us. Obviously, the totally not all-star break is happening right now. So we did end up beating the Ducks. Hopefully we can beat Pittsburgh to end this month on a high note. And we did. So 28, 16, and 5 as of February 1st. Now in second place in the division behind Pittsburgh. Let's sim a little bit more. Not going all the way to the deadline. I want to see how Bedini does. It's obviously a very busy schedule ahead. I want to see how Bedini does. I want to see how the team does. And we'll judge whether or not we're getting Bratt back into the lineup. Although, of course, we already kind of saw with Evan Barrett what that situation is. And we'll judge whether or not the goaltending is on point. Maybe worrying about, having Seider develop isn't the best way to go for us. Maybe we look for somebody who's a bit more NHL ready and can contribute. Now we've lost 3 out of our last 4. And that brings us to this game against Vancouver. So 30, 20, and 6 down to 3rd in the division, where it looked like we might run away with it through the opening month. We've continued to slip up from there. So, Heischer, killing it. Jack Hughes, killing it. Taylor Hall, killing it. Evan Barrett has been fine, at least. McLeod, doing very well point-wise. The plus-minus is a bit mad. Gusev doing very well point-wise. So, I suppose the argument is there that, Bratt might just not work for this team. Point-wise, he's good. But defensively, it's a bit concerning. Kovalchuk's doing well. Boqvist has been inoffensive. Palmieri's been fine. I'm all right with Coleman. Okay, that 4th line really hasn't gelled lately. Wow, Nathan Bastian's been a disaster. Nathan Bastian has been a disaster. What if we go with Evan Barrett here? I don't know if we want him on the fourth line, but perhaps he and Gates could work well together. We'll give Brad a little bit more time. Defensively, Smith, just 4 points, man. Like, I know you don't have power play time, but come on. Seider has been brutal. Butcher's been okay. Severson's been pretty meh. And Spurgeon hasn't been great either. I mean, Smith, Seider, and Spurgeon just aren't carrying their own weight right now. And Blackwood's at a 9-10. Kokechkov has 13 wins and 4 appearances. I do want to check to see how the power play and PK have been doing. But unfortunately, a lot of the youth, mainly on the defensive side of things, I was hoping would be able to step up. They have not done so. Let's take a look here at how we compare throughout the league. So in terms of goals for per game, our offense is surprisingly not up there. It's up there, but it's not way up there. Our goals against at a 3-2-1 mid-table. Our power play is second best in the league, so that's living up to the hype. Our penalty kill at an 81.8%, second best. So special teams-wise, we're killing it. It's just what is the issue? What is the... I mean... I don't want to say it's the defense and goaltending specifically. And in terms of team balance, something's got to go wrong for us. This game won't let, for the most part, it won't let you just cruise to a Stanley Cup. The goaltending hasn't been good enough. And then between Seider, Smith, and Spurgeon, I'm not overly happy. If I trade any of the three, it'll be like, oh, you shouldn't have traded him. If I send him down, oh, you're stunting their development. But the bottom line is, they're not producing right now. Not to say someone like Damon Severson is either. Like, he's not horrible. But, man, you should be better. You should be. I mean, obviously, it appears as though a lot of our offense is coming on the power play, and obviously, you know, there can be an effect as a result in terms of the plus-minus, but it's a tough call. It's a very tough call. And to take a look around right now, because while I do want to see what Bratt can do over the next week or two leading up to the deadline to see what's going on, I also want to take a look at our current situation here. We still have $10 million in cap. Mestra has a ton of value, of course. Blackwood still might be able to fetch us a first with the right team. Hunter Jones is movable. Bednar's there. Kokechkov, I mean, he's movable. You know, he hasn't gotten the job done as a backup goaltender. So there's definitely plays to be made there if we wanted to move around certain goaltenders. Defensively, there's moves that can be made there as well. And granted, we're not limited to just trading for players that are on the block, right? We can move, we can make moves for whoever we want. But when it comes to teams that are looking to move players, to get the little bit of a better deal in terms of value, is there anything out there? And the answer right now is not really. Now, Boston I'm interested in, by the way. Yeah, they're actually doing okay. I mean, they might end up with a low pick. That would have been our pick. These two right here. Can argue whether or not you'd rather have that than Mackenzie Blackwood right about now. I think I know my answer, based off of how he's done lately. Calgary. There's just not much there. Like Riddick's, I mean, he has a 907. That ain't happening. Carolina, nothing there. Chicago, nothing there. So, yeah, in terms of a good discount pickup, it's not looking too good. Forward-wise, we really don't need help. It's just a matter of getting the right players into the right spot. It would be more for defense and goaltending, where we'd be looking for an improvement. And someone like Jake Gardner's there. He's doing pretty well this season. A year left after this at 5.2. Shattenkirk, yeah, that's a little bit rough. Edmonton, nobody we're looking for. Florida, nobody we're looking for. Los Angeles, Jonathan Quick, how much time does he have left on that deal? That's the expiring year. He's playing, he's actually not even playing at all. They don't have Drew Doughty listed anymore. And they weren't able to trade him either, so let's take a look here. Minnesota, anybody at all? No. Montreal, Peter Mrazek, who, I mean, come on, about time you're like, yeah, go get Peter Mrazek. Maybe he'll save our season. Come on now. Nashville, shopping Yossi and Ellis. But both have a hell of a lot of term left. But it's good term. And both have been pretty damn good this year, too. That's not a bad situation there. Yossi and Ellis both in Nashville. Currently on the block. Do we have any? I'm surprised Buffalo isn't looking to move a goaltender. We talked about that earlier. Unless they did make a move and Leonard Luukkonen was flipped, but it didn't seem like that would have been the move. Logan Couture, he's going to have a lot of term left. Yeah, 5 years. St. Louis, I mean, like Owen Power is a prospect. Tampa, nobody we would want. Toronto, nobody we would want. Vancouver, nothing. So the only real help we'd be getting right now on defense is from Nashville. And we'd have to take term to make that happen. Which isn't the worst case scenario. Wow, Ovechkin. OV on the block, huh? He's probably still effective for them. Yes, he is. But Alex Ovechkin's on the block. And then Winnipeg, nobody that we'd want. So, I mean, again, when you look at the just outright goalie situation, John Gibson would be expensive as hell to trade for. And then if you're in that crowd where it's like, okay, don't screw him over. I mean, I guess the argument could be like, yeah, well, they're getting Mackenzie Blackwood. You know, I guess the argument could be made to go after John Gibson, but that's going to take Blackwood, probably the franchise goalie prospect, and honestly, it might take a little bit more. Maybe. It's close. Arizona, I mean, just that's not going to happen. Boston desperately needed the goaltender. Buffalo still have both Luukkonen and Leonard. Of course, we used Luukkonen in the Finland series. And when it comes to Leonard, 4-year deal there, oh my god, they're so dumb. NHL 20 can't get here soon enough. You could argue Buffalo would be dying to give us Robin Leonard, and you know what? We haven't had success with Leonard in the past as our goaltender, but maybe, just maybe, at least Calgary's smarter. They're trying to move on from their veteran. Got Nedeljkovic and Konovalov. I wonder how Konovalov's doing. Did we keep the wrong... We might have kept the wrong goalie, although 3 wins and 12 appearances. Chicago with Demko. 9-14 for him. I'm not sure what the right answer is. I mean, has Blackwood's time ended with this team? Has Jesper Bratt's time with this team ended? What do we do with the trio of struggling young defensemen? A lot of questions that we need to answer here as we move towards the deadline and, more importantly, towards the playoffs. Because right now, again, these streaks of losing 3 to 4 games in a row are absolutely crippling our chances of winning this division. And when we look at goaltenders around the league, I mean, top options right now, Robin Leonard is the best goalie in the league right now, although Hellebuck, really. Hellebuck's up there, Murray's up there, Vasilevsky is up there. There aren't too many starters over a 920. And we certainly don't have one of them. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Let me know what you think before I make any kind of major moves here. Again, it comes down to Jesper Bratt and just whether or not he's worth having on the team. If, yeah, sure, you score points, but guess what? You're also on the ice all the time when the other team scores, so what's the point? It all kind of evens out. Defensively, again, Smith, Seider, and Spurgeon haven't been great, and we still have question marks in goal. A couple of things that we need to figure out here if we're going to make this work for us.